Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one is going to be for volume 45 of the manga. This one is called Battlefield Konoha. Really nice cover this time out. 6 Paths of Pain, the Rinnegan here, and also Naruto more or less getting to the stage where he's kind of perfecting Sage Mode, and so it really does represent a lot of what's going on in this volume. We cover another 10 chapters here, 413 to 422, Crumbling, Raging Bull, New Powers, Tales of a Gutsy Shinobi, Raikage on the Move, Sage Naruto, Raid, Battlefield Konoha, Recall Naruto, and Kakashi vs. Pain. Overall, I describe this volume as pretty good. I don't think it's quite on the level that the last couple have been. I've been obviously very kind of like heavily praising the last couple of volumes. This one I think is just a kind of transitional one as we kind of end the Sasuke Killer Bee fight, kind of are moving Sasuke kind of, I suppose, out of the spotlight for the time being and kind of focusing more on Naruto, having him kind of come towards the end of his training and starting the Pain's attack on Konoha. So it's definitely not like the big volume where like the majority of the attack on Konoha happens. It gets really intense at the end. The fight at the start is really good. It's just in the middle is a little bit kind of like, okay, this is stuff that needs to be here. It's not a problem. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not as good as some of the other stuff we've had before. So that's basically my general thoughts. So very quickly, let's start off with the end of the Eight Tails, the Killer Bee, Eight Tails Jinchuriki fight versus Sasuke and the other members of Team Taka. So immediately we start off with the reveal that Killer Bee seems to be able to control the Eight Tails. He can do the Eight Tails cloak, and Sasuke reminds him, of course, of when he fought Naruto before. And we see that Killer Bee is very powerful here. He can instantly break through Genjutsu, which he reveals a very important plot point that if you have someone else to kind of agitate your chakra, you can actually break yourself out of a Genjutsu, which I think we knew before. But having a Jinchuriki there, and because he's friends with the Eight Tails, he can just have the Eight Tails manipulate his chakra and break him out. And then if the Eight Tails is ever under a Genjutsu, I suppose Killer Bee can do that for him. So really cool thing, as he basically establishes that if you are a really good Jinchuriki, you are basically immune to Genjutsu, basically. So that's really interesting. And this is obviously the start of Sasuke using his Mangakyo Sharingan powers. So he tries to use the Tsukiyomi. Killer Bee breaks out of that, and Sasuke gets really badly injured. Killer Bee uses his lariat attack and basically like caves Sasuke's like chest open, and Karin is out of chakra, so it's Jugo who has to be the one to heal him, and we kind of get this whole kind of curse mark kind of healing power where he basically like pumps his life force into Sasuke to heal his wound, but in the process it turns Jugo into a kind of, it kind of makes Jugo de-age kind of thing. I don't know what the best way to say that is, but like he becomes younger after this. Not like super young, but he goes from like being like what you would expect him, like he looks about like 18, 20, something like that, to down to being like 12, 14. So it's like he gives some of his life to Sasuke and heals him. He then reveals this other new power of a Jinchuriki that we've actually never seen before, which is, I suppose we sort of saw the beginning of this when Naruto was facing Orochimaru, but that just this ability to, like, at will for a Jinchuriki to transform into the actual like physical manifestation of that tailed beast. So we basically get introduced to the full look at what the Eight Tails is, and he's this kind of octopus thing, which is a really cool combination. And we have stuff like Suigetsu defending them, as like they're all pretty badly injured at this stage. Karin has used up most of her chakra. Jugo has used his power to heal Sasuke. Suigetsu was obviously sort of taken out by lightning jutsu in the last volume, and he comes back here to defend them and kind of gets pretty badly hurt again. And it's all basically to buy Sasuke time so that he's able to use his Mangakyo Sharingan again. And this is basically how we get the somewhat end of the fight here, as Sasuke reveals that he can use Amaterasu, which we knew before, but we're kind of wondering like, okay, he's sort of given you this power, but can you actually use it? And yes, he in fact can. It is one of his Mangekyo Sharingan powers that he can use the Amaterasu. So this basically brings the fight to an end. As we do make the noted point that as kind of part of this, Sasuke had chopped off one of the Eight Tails tentacles, and they kind of note that, and it comes back later on. But yeah, he does that. Karin gets hit with some of the Amaterasu as well, and it's also revealed that Sasuke can put out the Amaterasu using his Mangekyo Sharingan as well, but that seems to have a really heavy effect on him, as we see already, despite him only getting his Mangekyo Sharingan now, the kind of reverse, the bad effects of it are already kind of taking effect on Sasuke. So, as far as we're aware, they've kind of won at this stage. Amaterasu has brought the fight to an end. Killer Bee is there. They've captured him. And all the time towards the end of the fight, we see that there are lookouts from the Cloud Village watching this, and they kind of note that it's someone from the Leaf Village, it's part of the Akatsuki, it's an Uchiha, and they kind of go to report it back to the Raikage. And there's all this mentioning of like, the Raikage is not going to be happy here. So we have that set up. Then on the other side of things, with Naruto, it's all training stuff on the Naruto side of the story. We cover the fact that he's basically mastered being able to see nature energy now, and he's kind of getting to the stage where he doesn't need to use the toad oil as much anymore. He's able to pretty effortlessly like contact with nature energy, use it and like lift up stuff. He just has to now get used to harnessing nature energy without the toad oil, and kind of just the way he'd in the future use it in battle, kind of do that now. But not before we do get this important plot point of just Lord Fukusaku giving Naruto an edition of Jiraiya's first book, Tales of a Gutsy Shinobi. And then we basically get that story here at the start. We get like Naruto's reading the book, and we kind of get the core ideal here that like a Leaf Village shinobi is fighting this guy from like an unknown village. His like headband symbol is a question mark, and he's kind of insulting him, saying like you should give up. And the hero of this story is like saying like like don't ever tell me to give up. And instead give up trying to make me give up. And he talks about the enemy talks about as long as we live in this cursed shinobi world, there will never be peace. And the hero says, in that case I'll break the curse. If there's such a thing as peace, I'll find it. I'm not giving up. And we end just before the hero of the story reveals his name. But we already know at this stage that the name of that hero is Naruto, because like that's the whole idea of like going back a few volumes ago, that Minato and Kushina named their child after the character in Jiraiya's book, and given that they're talking about names, it obviously has to be the name Naruto. And we see that Naruto is obviously kind of crying here, in part because I think the story, he believes it. The ideals of this hero he believes just like his father did. But also, it's remembering Jiraiya. There's a little picture of Jiraiya on the last page, and he kind of reflects on that, and kind of reflects that, like, yes, the ideals in this book very much reflect what I've seen of Jiraiya over the course of my learning from him. And we get a flashback to this kind of cool conversation between the two from a while back, part 1 time more or less. But I assume this is actually set in the gap between part 1 and part 2. And we get the whole idea of Naruto basically asking, Sasuke said he was going to sever his bond with me and become stronger, and that I could never understand his feelings. You were friends with Orochimaru way back. Why did Orochimaru desert the village and decide to destroy Konoha? And we get the origins of, I suppose, Orochimaru here. Orochimaru went loony after his parents were killed, then he became obsessed with forbidden jutsu. Very, very quick, but just the idea that Orochimaru's parents were killed as well, and that changed him. That's something I don't think we knew prior to this. And then Jiraiya just says, I don't know if he was trying to resurrect his parents or wreak vengeance on the village responsible for their deaths. My parents weren't killed, so unlike you, he yelled at me that I didn't understand anything. Perhaps he was right and I didn't. But even I can see that there's too much hate in our shinobi world. I'm always thinking that I want to do something about this hatred. I'm not sure how to go about it one day, but I truly believe that the day will come when people will understand one another and live in harmony. And he's kind of like, even if I can't accomplish that, I will kind of give that to you to do. If I can't find the solution myself, I'll pass the quest on to you. And it's Naruto remembering that the kind of core of this whole hatred of the shinobi world, this kind of never-ending cycle, he was told about this before, that this was kind of a goal of Jiraiya in the background, and that it's now passing on to Naruto. And so we're starting to see, I suppose, now a goal for Naruto beyond just get Sasuke back and become a better shinobi, become the Hokage. That he now has this other goal that's beginning to form now. He wants, of course, to get Sasuke back. Yes, he wants to at some stage become the Hokage. But now it's like the deeper meaning of that. If he does become Hokage, what's he going to do? And part of that is obviously trying to end this cycle of hatred, this cursed shinobi world that everyone lives in, where it just is war after war. He wants to get to an era where everyone understands each other. And so that's a really kind of important thing to get for Naruto, that's a goal that he is now set on, versus Sasuke, who has now set his goals on destroying the Leaf Village, killing everyone in there, and so on. And it's very fitting that immediately after we get kind of Naruto's kind of goals clarified, we cut over to Sasuke giving the 8 Tails over to Tobi and the Akatsuki, and Sasuke basically explaining to Tobi, Madara, what his goals are from here on out. And he basically is just like saying, like, Itachi's life showed how he sacrificed himself to protect the village, but my grief at losing him is deeper than any desire to follow his path, inconsolably so. Now that I know the truth, I will never take his side and protect Konoha. I will never forgive the 3 elders, and I believe that everyone in Konoha enjoying the peace in exchange for his life is guilty too. And so his plan now has actually advanced. Instead of just killing the 3 elders, he now wants to kill everyone in Konoha. And you know, Tobi rightfully, I suppose, questions, you're going to ignore like all the sacrifice that Itachi made for the village. You're going to basically go against everything he kind of stood for. And it's basically, he says, I feel similarly. To me, Itachi's life is more precious than Konoha, that's all. And you know, he uses the stuff he's just learned about the discrimination against the Uchiha, the fact that the village ordered him to kill all their people, and all of this stuff, that like he was kind of forced to do all of this by the village, and that's his justification for why he wants to take vengeance against the entire village. And again, we come back to this kind of whole idea of that, where are we going? I kill their loved ones left and right so that they too could grasp what it's like to experience this hatred of mine. So we're getting this idea of, I suppose, the different way people take vengeance, and I suppose what causes the cycle of hatred in the shinobi world. Naruto has reason to kind of want vengeance against like Pain, and it's still going to be interesting to see how he approaches doing that going forward. Will he go to kill him immediately out of anger, almost kind of like Sasuke, or versus obviously Sasuke representing the person who is completely fueled by that style of things, that you almost get the idea that he's going to start a war just out of vengeance, and that is the exact cause of like most of the wars that we've had up to now. And we get the kind of kind of narrator point, kind of inner dialogue from Sasuke. Once you've been hurt, you learn what it is to hate. And then we just get a pretty important, I suppose, section of the story. Does it happen quite yet? Yeah, just about. Where basically the Raikage is informed that his brother, interesting, Killer Bee is his brother, so the Raikage is the brother of the 8 Tails Jinchuriki. Basically, he finds out about the Leaf Village, and he's kind of like, what's the Hokage doing about this? One of their own has basically just taken my brother. And he basically just calls a Gokage Summit, or the 5 Kage Summit. So he's organizing this meeting between the leaders of all of the great ninja nations to kind of discuss how to deal with the Akatsuki in response to this. And big stuff is happening. He's putting together a kind of task force to deal with stuff, and we get to meet Sarui, Darui, and Karui. And we just get the basics of their personalities come out here, but we don't learn a ton about them just yet. Next up, Naruto, the next stage of his training is to basically stay perfectly still on top of this kind of pointy mountain range thing, balance on a board on top of a point, to be perfectly still in nature, and obviously the idea is that if you are perfectly still, you'll balance up here, and that's an easy way to show that. If not, you'll fall down, and he mistakes it a few times, but eventually gets the hang of it. And then in the aftermath, obviously, of the battle against the Eight Tails, we see that the vision of Sasuke is beginning to go. Even though he's only used his Mangekyo Sharingan a couple of times, he's kind of used it so much already that it's already taking an adverse effect. We see he's kind of getting that kind of double vision sort of things. He goes to pick up a glass of water and knocks it over because his vision is off. And we see that obviously I think in the previous volume or the one before that, he refused to get the eye transplant from Itachi's body. So that's a kind of like big thing that like at some point he's going to need that to happen, or he's going to lose his sight. But he seems so set on kind of not involving himself in Itachi's ideals that he doesn't want that, but at some point he's going to need it. So very interesting. But yeah, we get the Gokage Summit. Naruto more or less perfecting Sage Jutsu at this point in time. We see that he has actually learned it to a point where he has basically now has the potential to exceed Jiraiya. That he doesn't take on any frog aspects when he goes into Sage mode. That he kind of does it the way it's meant to be, where you get the rings around your eyes. That's proof of successful sagehood, but no frog effect. So I think the art on this page here is really nice to show that. It's a really cool look for Naruto actually. Just without, I suppose, giving him like a visual jutsu thing, just giving them this kind of eye kind of effect that kind of highlights something like that. That given that a lot of the most powerful techniques in the Naruto world are eye powers, it's very fitting that they kind of give Naruto one himself. And we see that Sage Mode is very powerful. He falls down after this, but doesn't take much damage. And then the next stage of his training is that he's going to spar with Fukusaku to learn basically frog style, toad style taijutsu, and that's going to be really powerful. But yeah, next, and then we basically transition into Pain arriving at the Leaf Village, getting in, and basically the way he's planning to attack the village. He's going to have half of the Pains kind of do a full frontal assault to get everyone distracted, and the other three are going to kind of sneak around, taking out key targets, interrogating people. So it's a very carefully planned assault here, as like it's kind of half brute force assault, half sneaky attacks. And we see that back in the village they're still investigating the body of Pain and basically trying to figure out the mystery. What does the real one is not among them mean, and all this sort of stuff. The reveal that we get here is that the kind of rods that we see in all the Pains, the kind of black things, are actually chakra receivers, that they become active obviously once Pain arrives back into place. And we're starting to get the idea that, okay, someone is kind of controlling these dead bodies through these chakra receivers, and that's what's basically allowing the Pains to constantly just use different bodies to have the same powers, because they're kind of amplifying their chakra through something and into these bodies, and that's the kind of idea. It's also at this point we do get the kind of distinguishing feature between all of the Pains. We get their names. We get Gakido, Chikushodo, Shirado, Jigokudo, Ningendo, and Tendo. So the key one being Tendo Pain, but I never really used those names when I referred to the Pains. I mainly just referred to the kind of powers that they have as the kind of easier way to do it. But anyway, so yeah, they get in through the barrier, and there's a little kind of reference that Itachi got through because he was formerly part of the Leaf Village and had kept the kind of secret of the jutsu to get in a secret. And we just see that, yeah, like the attack is going quite well. We see that they find Iruka, but like Kakashi comes in, and this is like the key part of like the fight. But just prior to that, the Akatsuki go to extract the Eight Tails, and as they're about to do it, they get some of the energy, but then poof, the body of Killer Bee transforms into just one of the limbs, basically, of the Eight Tails. And it's revealed later on that this is a plan from Killer Bee, that he basically, in the fight, transferred all of himself into the bit of the octopus that Sasuke cut off and basically kind of reversed it. So he used that to escape, and that like what was left was actually just the kind of bit that Sasuke chopped off, and he manages to escape this way. And he kind of reveals that, look, I'm a Jinchuriki too. I'm constantly looked after and all this stuff. I want to get out myself as well, because I don't want to constantly be just a living weapon waiting to be used. Then we get that Iruka's almost about to be killed. Kakashi arrives, and that is the key kind of part of the fight truly beginning in the Leaf Village. That Kakashi is obviously one of the most capable ninjas that we know. He has the Sharingan, he has the Mangekyo Sharingan, and all these other jutsu. But how is that going to work against Pain? Initially he's up against one, then more arrive, and it's revealed that he's up against Tendo Pain, I believe. So he's the first one to experience the kind of the push and pull abilities of this Pain, and he's kind of, all of his attacks are getting blocked and so on. And at this point, basically the whole village becomes alerted to the fact that this is happening, and the few key points that we get towards the end of the volume are: one, when news comes to Tsunade, she's basically immediately like, okay, the attack has finally come, recall Naruto. So she gets one of the frogs and is going to get that to recall Naruto back. Before that can happen, the two advisors that aren't Danzo, whose names I constantly forget, arrive in. The two people who always go against Tsunade's decisions come in, and they're like, no, you can't do that. Naruto's still a kid. He's the whole person we're trying to protect. You can't possibly do that. He's the Jinchuriki. We need to keep him safe. And I really, really love this moment. This is probably one of my favorite Tsunade moments in like the entire series. She just picks the two of them up with her super strength and just screams at them. What are you thinking? Still treating him like a mere child. He's adopted the Konoha will of fire. He's grown. He's currently training to surpass Jiraiya. He's not a backup weapon to be hidden away. He's Uzumaki Naruto, the true shinobi and defender of Konoha. And she basically highlights, do you know what Jiraiya had, Saratobi, even Granny Chiyo of the Sand had? Faith and trust in other people. And it's basically the turn for the advisors to put some fate in some of the youth of Konoha to actually do something here. And they agree to eventually recall Naruto back. But as they send off the frog to go to Mount Miyaboku and call Naruto back, Danzo kills it. As everyone walks out, he's left there with the frog. He kills it and basically says, now Ninetales can't be kept caged up. So Danzo seemingly wants the village to stay under attack or something like that. It's an interesting one to kind of analyze what he's thinking at this point in time. But Tsunade goes up to the roof, summons Katsuyu, and basically she's going to use Katsuyu to heal everyone who gets injured in the battle. And we end the volume with basically Kakashi, I think, 3-on-1 against Pains. Choji's father, Choza, comes in, and now it's going to be 2-on-3, and some big stuff's going to happen here as the fights are have properly begun. But that's basically the volume 45 review. As I said, good, not perhaps as good as the last couple of volumes, but it's definitely great setup for stuff still to come. With the 5 Kage Summit coming up, the big attack coming. How's Naruto going to find out what's happening here? How will he make his way back to get involved in the fight? How will his powers work? And so on. There's so many questions here. You know, the setup of Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan already beginning to kind of lose its sight. Big stuff. It's just the middle section of the volume is a lot of kind of explanations. It's not the most exciting, but it's still interesting. So yeah, that's been volume 44, the review. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the volume, on the review. And I'll just finish by saying, link to my Twitter and Tumblr are in the description below if you want to follow me on social media. And link to my Patreon campaign and PayPal donation link are also in the description if you want to help support my channel so I can make more videos, better videos. So yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.